Hi everyone. In this session, I would like to introduce to you another group of commands called the wait for commands, which is used in rare cases where our playback does not sync well with the web application. Usually, in most cases and out of the box, the player knows when it goes through the playback commands to wait for the web application events to finish and then continue with the next command. For example, when we click and wait the submit button, the player will wait, of course, for the application to do the authentication against the server and then navigate to the next page, the home page. And only when the home page is fully rendered, it will go to the next command, which is checking that we got to the right place and doing the rest of the script. But in some web applications, in some rare cases, sometimes we don't sync well with what happens with the application. So for example, the player is trying to press a button or access a UI element, and the UI element or the button is not visible yet or is not enabled yet because there is some kind of JavaScript processing on the website that delays the visibility of this UI element. So in those cases, what will happen that we will record the press of the button or accessing this element, and we will fail because the player will get there before time. Let's try to demo it, even though in this application it will not happen. Our player syncs well with the IDE system, but just to see how it may look like. Let's say that here, before we capture the data of the table, we want to first press this go button, this filtering button. So usually what I'll do is I'll just add here a click command and choose the button, and it would probably work in most cases. But let's say that in my specific application, what happens is when I get here to the page and the page renders, it takes some time for this go button to be visible. So the player fails, it gets here and it gets here too fast, it doesn't find the button and it fails. So I can explicitly instruct our player to wait for something to happen on the page before continuing to the next command. And I'll do it in this way. I'll insert a new command, and these commands all start with the wait for phrase, and I can wait for different things to happen on the page. I can wait for an attribute to get specific value. I can wait for a checkbox to be checked. I can wait for an element to be present or not to be present. And there are many options here. And let's select the option of waiting for element to be visible. So I'll say I will say to our player, I want to instruct our player before going next to the next command of clicking the button, I want you to wait for this button to be visible first. So I'll say wait for visible, point to the button, and now the player will wait for the button to be visible, and only then it will get to the next command. So if I'll try to play it right now, it will work, of course, well, because the button is visible immediately after the page loads. But let's try to simulate a case where it is not visible, and I'll simulate it by just putting a wrong selector here. And this will make it to fail, of course, because it will never be visible. Let's see what happens then. So it will get here, the page renders, and now it is on the wait for visible command, and it waits for this command, for this button to be visible before getting to the next command. In our case, it will never be visible, so it will wait here for the timeout period that is set for the playback. There is a default timeout of, in our case, it's of 30 seconds, and after that it will fail the script. You can manipulate this timeout, but usually the default timeout will be enough. And as you can see here, after the timeout passed, it really failed. And if I look at the log, I'll see that it failed because it timed out after 30 seconds. It waited for a button to be visible, it was not visible, and then it timed out and failed. In the real life, if this button is supposed to be visible, of course, it will wait until the button will be visible and go to the next command, and everything will go well. Thank you.